cancer. Left behind, of course, a couple of kids who were still making music, and we thought we would pay tribute to him. I had the opportunity to interview Frank Zappa half a dozen times over the course of his career and mine. And each time I found it to be the ultimate challenge in rock and roll to interview him. He did not suffer fools gladly. Well, we'll run down a list of things that he didn't suffer well. Lazy music, love songs. He hated love songs. If you were a current fad like disco, you were fair game. Hippies were fair game. And then the hippie population would go out and buy his records. That was the ironic thing. He was as important a contemporary writer as American contemporary writer as Aaron Copland, George Gershwin, Cole Porter. The total sum of his music to date, more than 60 albums since 1966, was a huge influence on many artists and a unique mix of doo-wop, heavy metal, jazz, blues, rock orchestra, big band charts. I keep thinking of his disco albums. He played classical music. Chamber compositions came easily to him. He found large orchestras to be unwieldy, so he kind of formed his own group, starting with the Mothers of Invention. What else I want to tell you about him? He was a brilliant humorist, very funny man, a great interviewer, and a great musician, and he has 150 different versions of Yellow Snow that you can still find if you look for them. Here's our special look at just an amazing guy, Frank Zappa.
She had a Cameron Brillo out long ahead. I mean a Mendocino Pinot, my with some bugs and faded red. She ruled the toes in Eastern Forest, every Newton Idaho, and every cricket cried chorus by the bush of buffalo. She said she was the magic mama, and she could throw me a Cairo and carry on without a comma.
Have you had a hard time finding friends, people on your level, or do you feel rather lonely?
Well, look at it this way. I don't have any friends because I have so many employees. And if you're the boss, you'll never have a friend, because whenever somebody works for somebody else, they can't really like him because, you know, he's the boss. And make no doubt about it, I'm the boss to these guys. I run the show, you know, I sign a check, there it is. That's what I do, okay? And if you have a friend in the ordinary sense of the word, what do you got? Somebody who thinks they can borrow money from you. You know, I've got a wife and 4 kids. I like them fine, we're real friendly. Other than that, I'm not interested in friends.
Who is who? I don't know. And what is what? Something I just don't know. And why is this? That's a funny pronunciation if never I heard. If you don't like where you get that word, what you has got, appropriate, drop it in the dirt, drop it, yeah, and let it rock. I can smell it now. Someone else, here it come, will surely come. I told you he was coming, and pick it up, yeah, right. 'Cause he wants some
more time that I spend working in the entertainment industry, the fewer fantasies I have, because if there's one thing that'll prove once and for all that the human species was only created to make a mess and to destroy, you can really see that by doing business with people in the entertainment world.
How can you have managed to stay in the entertainment business for as long as you have with that kind of a negative attitude?
That's not a negative attitude, that's a realistic attitude. A negative attitude would be somebody who turns into a sniper because of it, okay? I haven't reached that stage.
But it's still a pessimistic
It's not pessimistic.
attitude.
Come on, it's realistic. Look around you. You've been in the show business for a while. Do you think that you're doing business with really nice people, nice, warm, friendly people?
No, but sometimes they're fun, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, yeah, it matters, because eventually you'll be laughing and they'll be stabbing you in the back. I stay in this business because basically this is what I know how to do. And been doing it for 20 years. I'm really good at it. And why should I stop doing it just because the rest of the people in the business are unpleasant?
How's that for an intro?
Great, I like that sax note at the end.
Yeah. Because you do some pretty wild intros yourself on stage,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
you?
and some outros, too.
Yeah? What's the wildest sort of entrance you've ever done on a stage?
Well,
Somebody told me you slid down a wire thing once or something.
No, that's not true.
So?
No. In fact, many of the things you might have heard about me in the program are probably not true.
What is your program about, or would you rather not talk about it and let people
Well,
see it?
I could demonstrate some of the things that we do. You know, in theory, I could demonstrate it with what you have here, if you'd like me to.
Yeah, if you could, yeah, I would.
Okay. Sometimes during our show, we'll conduct the audience as a musical instrument. As like I have hand signals that I use to conduct the band that gives them cues to make musical sound effects and so forth. And sometimes these cues are extended to the audience if we have an audience that's in the mood for it. Now let's try and make something out of grunt, peep, clap, and poot. Okay, we'll start with a peep.
You seem to really perform well live. You exude a lot of energy.
Oh, yeah, we're terrific.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not kidding.
I am Frank Zappa, as imagined by the editor of a famous rock and roll magazine. I am an anachronism who makes the ugliest music on the planet. I have no right to call myself a member of the human race. I am tasteless, untalented, pompous, arrogant, cruel, insensitive, vulgar, and not a fun guy because I don't use drugs.
Well, to me, a cigarette is food. You see. Now, that may be a baffling concept to people in San Francisco who have this theory that they will live forever if they stamp out tobacco smoke. I find this a little bit difficult to deal with, but I live my life eating these things and drinking this black water in this cup here, okay?
You, by your fans or by the public, they don't know how to take you. Either a genius, thought of by some people, or someone who's a little bit risque. How would you prefer?
Well, I mean, what's wrong with being risque, you know? I think that what I do is wonderful and doesn't hurt anybody, and people like to have a good time, and we're here to entertain them, so what's the difference?
Even if the box you bottom in, you can eat the truck that brought him in. Garbage truck, moldy garbage truck. Eat the truck and driver and his blood.
I'm a parent. I've got 4 children. 2 of them are here. I want them to grow up in a country where they can think what they want to think, be what they want to be, and not what somebody's wife or somebody in government makes them be. I don't want to have that, and I don't think you do either.
The reason why the record industry agreed to do it is because they had legislation which they were trying to push through the Congress, and the husbands of these ladies sat on the committees which could affect record industry legislation, so they decided to play ball. It was just a buy and a sell. So in effect, what the record companies did was use the rights of the artist, which they didn't really have. They threw away part of the artist, all artists' future in order to protect a piece of their legislation.
That's good. Well, let's take the first percussion track would have the violence, all right? We'll take that. Adjust this one for violence.
Becoming more violent.
Yeah, I think so. And it's a good thing we're computerized to do this, because manual violence is very, very time consuming. And with labor costs the way they are, it's too expensive for a place like this. I don't believe that there is a hell, and I don't see any scientific documentation to prove that I'm wrong. I don't see any evidence that there is a real devil. I don't see any evidence that a lot of the claims that are made by people who belong to these frenzied little sects and cults and fundamentalist organizations, who are entitled to their belief so long as it doesn't turn into law. That's my main objection to this, They don't have the right to interfere with my belief that there is no hell, okay? And that's one of my favorite points. And I'm willing to argue and fight for the right to continue to believe that there is no hell.
Your last dying gasp from the bed will be, Father, I have sinned, last moment of terror. It's reported so often. What makes you think you'll be different?
I know I'm different.